Hey, it's Vanessa, the Crafty Gemini, and in this video tutorial, I'm going to teach you how I like to make my bowl cozies. Alright, so the ever so popular bowl cozy tutorial. These projects have been all over, making their rounds on the internet for several years now, but I still get dozens and dozens of emails, comments, and messages from you all that are asking me to make the Crafty Gemini version of this project. So here it is for you. I figured I would include it in my 12 days of last minute DIY gifts, and I'm going to show you how I like to make mine, the size and the shape I like to give them. Now, if you're not familiar with what a bowl cozy is, it's basically a little quilted chunk of fabric that has an indentation in the center that you can place a bowl in. It's great for warm soup bowls that you don't want to burn your hands by holding the bowl, so you put it in your cozy and you can carry it like that. Some people place it directly into the microwave with a bowl of soup to reheat it. We use it sometimes for ice cream, so if you're holding a bowl that's already cold and you maybe don't want to hold it by the bowl, you can put it in a bowl cozy and hold it like that. And also my kids just like to use it sometimes if you're having a popcorn snack and watching a movie. We use it for that as well. That way it's kind of cute. It gives them something that is their own, that they've chose the fabrics or the prints. So there's a lot of different little uses for it, but it's basically like a cute and functional accessory to go along with whenever you're eating something out of a bowl. Now let's go over the supplies you're gonna need to make your bowl cozy, and we'll jump right into making our project. You'll need 2 pieces of fabric cut to 9 inches by 9 inches, 2 pieces of batting cut to 9 inches by 9 inches. You'll need some thread, something to mark, measure, and cut your fabrics with, some temporary spray adhesive, a working sewing machine with straight stitch capability, and please remember that if you plan to use your bowl cozy in the microwave at all, you want to make sure that your fabric, the batting, and the thread you're using are all 100% cotton. The first step is to take each square of fabric and baste it. I temporary spray baste it to 1 piece of batting. So these guys go here. I'm going to spray baste them, and then we'll take each of them over to the sewing machine and stitch a big letter X. You can take a ruler and a marking tool and mark the diagonals if you want to, or you can just eyeball it, which, as you guys know me, that's what I'm going to do. So let me use some temporary spray adhesive here. Now we're going to come in and mark some darts, which is basically going to give these pinched edges that bring up the sides in the bowl cozy and allow it to kind of have that indentation to fit the bowl in, okay? So that's what the next part is. So you're going to fold it in half, match up the raw edges here, and then we're going to mark some lines here and here. So the little stitches that are going to pinch the fabric like this are going to come in right here. So what I want you to do is grab something to mark on, and it might be a little tough because you're marking on batting, but just, you know, mark as well as you can. You're going to come in 1 inch up from the fold and make a mark. And then I want you to go 2 inches over along the fold line. So that's what you have to remember, because otherwise you can get mixed up with the dimensions and your ruler. So always remember 2 inches along the fold. So here's my 2-inch mark. I know that I'm going to come here, but I need to be 1 inch up. So I know that I can keep the ruler there and just move it up till the fold line is at the 1-inch line here. So this is what you should have on your batting piece here. So I'm going to mark right here, which is 1 inch up from the fold. And then I'm going to mark right here, which is 1 and 2 inches over from this corner. So you have a mark there and there. And then you're going to connect the dots and mark your line. And this line that I'm drawing is the line I'm going to stitch on. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side. 2 inches over and 1 inch up. So I mark here. And this is going to be helpful for you to pause the screen here and maybe do a close-up until you kind of get the hang of it, because I don't want you to do, 2 inches up this way and 1 inch across. Then you're going to have the measurements wrong. Your dots should look like these, so that when you connect them, it's almost like the lines are in the same direction as the half of the X that you stitched out before. So those two there, and then I just open it and fold it in the opposite direction. Don't worry that you don't have the full thing here, because when we stitch it, we'll actually have it folded. So save yourself some time and another step there. Now that I folded it the opposite way, I need to do the same thing, but now on this fold. So again, 2 inches over and 1 inch up. mark and connect my dots. 2 inches over and 1 inch up. And so each one of these pieces, you're going to do this 4 times. So then you're going to repeat the same thing to the next step, to the next piece. And I just leave that like that. Now we're going to do the same thing to this guy. Now we're going to take these to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch on all 4 lines that each one of these have. So right here, and you are going to stitch it as it's folded. So when you do the stitch here, it's going to be right here also. So this whole chunk of fabric is going to be pinched. And then we'll go back and trim away the excess seam allowance. We'll stitch these 2, then open it up, fold it the other way how you had it, flip it to the side that has your markings, and stitch from that side as well. Take both of these and head over to the sewing machine. And I back stitch at the beginning and ends. So now we're going to trim away the excess here, and then we're going to also do one other step that I like to do to my bowl cozies, and it's so that we end up with these rounded edges here instead of the ones that peek out like that, and that's just personal preference, but I like the way that it looks like this, a little bit rounded. It almost looks like a little flower shape. All right, so trim away about 1/4 of an inch beyond your stitch line, like that. Then I'll fold it the other way and do the same thing here. So I'm just trimming away some of the excess. Okay, same thing to the other one. And now we're going to round it off. All right, so you see how I'm just meeting the side here to here? Much better for me. And do the same thing to the other one because they have to match. So to do that, just close it up in one direction. Doesn't matter which one, they're the same, so the cut is going to be symmetrical. So I just take anything, let me grab a little bowl here, a little ramekin like this, and that's fine. Anything that's going to round it off, that's not going to cut away too much from here or here. You really just want to kind of meet this side, cut away and curve, and then meet right there again. So instead of trying to run the rotary cutter on the other side of this little ramekin dish, I'm just going to mark it. Like that is close enough. And then follow your cut line. Of course, if you're not that handy or you don't feel that confident with a rotary cutter, just use scissors. Same thing. All right, now we're talking. I like that look much better. All right, so now these 2 are going to go pretty sides touching, matching the side seams here to here on all 4 sections. And then you can put pins or clips all the way around. We're going to stitch all this, okay? But you got to leave an opening somewhere. And because this is not that big, you can leave an opening, say, from one section here to here. I always want to leave an opening on somewhere that's somewhat straight. It's always going to be easier to do that than try to leave an opening across an entire curve. It's hard to get the shaping when you have to turn under the seam allowance. So I'm going to leave it open from like here to here. And believe it or not, just a couple inches is going to be enough for me to flip this out through. So we'll start here, back stitch to secure it, and then I'm just going to stitch using 1/4 of an inch seam allowance around this petal. I'll come in here and kind of pivot so I can swing back around and do that around each one of these till I get to the other end here, and I'm going to back stitch there as well. Now I like to take scissors and just snip where it goes in, kind of like that heart shape. I just snip on either side of that seam. Just make sure you don't cut into your stitch line, but just to kind of cut into that bulk a little bit. Okay. Now we'll find our opening, reach in between the 2 pretty sides, and turn the whole thing right side out. Little by little, you don't want to break it. Now at the opening here, I just tuck in the raw edges, and then press it so it's like taking the same shape as the sides that have it already sewn up, and press it there. Because now we're going to go back in and top stitch this entire thing. Now notice it's also reversible. So if you want to give both sides a press, just flip it out and press it from the other side also. Now let's head over to the sewing machine and we're going to top stitch all the way around right here at the top to hold the lining and the exterior, whichever side you decide to be which, to hold them together. And that way you'll be able to completely flip them out so that it's reversible. So for top stitching through bulky layers that include fabric and the batting, I lengthened my stitch length to about a 3.0. And you're stitching about 1/8 of an inch in from the outer edge. And now that our bowl cozy is done, I wanted to show you in 3 different size bowls that we often use them for. You can see yogurt with berries and stuff for the kids in the morning. That's plenty, and it fits in there. Now the reason I like to start off with 9-inch squares is because it ends up making a bowl cozy that's a little bit smaller. For little hands and for clumsy hands, I prefer the bowl cozy to have a snug fit around it so that when you're grabbing it, you really are just grabbing the entire bowl, and it's not something that's a little bit kind of more cumbersome to hold in hand. So this is what I prefer. And you can see this size bowl. This measures about 6 inches wide here. Same thing for this guy. And this is a big bowl. I mean, this is a nice big soup bowl. Boom. And you can also use this, say you're going to a party, you can give it as a hostess gift with a homemade dip or something. That also would be great to hold it in there. And then we have this little guy that we often use for like little snacks like ice cream or something. And you can see that it still sets in there nicely for little hands to hold also. Okay, so a variety of different sizes. And this is the one that I prefer to do. So I hope that you all enjoyed making it. Remember, these are also reversible. All right, so there it is, my bowl cozy tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it and that you'll give it a try. You can play around with the dimensions, the sizes, even the shapes that you give them to customize them and make them totally your own. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends across the different social media sites. If you're not yet subscribed to my channel and you enjoyed my teaching style, click the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. Now this was day 11 of my 12 days of last minute DIY gifts. That means I'll be back tomorrow with the last video tutorial in this video series. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.